Trio show. We up. Purple suede on the mic talking BTC. Camski talking trio fresh as can be. Rough star delivering tech like a G. And I'm a hot boy, but I'm as cold as the sea. Turning up the degrees, giving all the keys. Grinding for the sets cause they don't grow on trees. Alerted to the fiat money like a sneeze. Running up this Bitcoin till I break my knees. Yeah. Trio show. Yeah. Posted. Starship. What up, Joe Kamski? What it do, Perk? What's poppin', bruh? Talk to him, baby. Yeah. In a whole nother league by myself. You couldn't touch Trio even if it's on a lower shelf. Posted up, baby, about my candy like Buddy the Elf. Yeah, we shaking up the Bitcoin landscape. Wreck it, Ralph. Protect your sats like you protect yourself. Keep a ledger on deck if you love your wealth. Launch your ordinals on chain right now. No stealth. Grind hard, touch graph, repeat now for better health. Yeah. You've been tuned into a posted up exclusive Trio show. Let's go. Bitcoin culture at its finest. Bitcoin starship. Fine like VVS diamonds.
All right, we are live. Another episode of the Trio Show, and I'm tuning in from the beautiful Bali, and we have Bruff here, and with us we have a very special guest tonight. We have Domo on the stream with us. Domo needs no introduction, but he's the founder of BRC 20s, and we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to discuss, and I'm really excited. I'm super excited. I feel like we've been having some interesting conversations. Oh, I think yeah, dropped off. We've been having some really interesting conversations. In this past few weeks, we've had the founders from all different corners of the Bitcoin space, and have been able to really map out how our little niche has been evolving. I feel like it's been a really exciting journey these past few years, going from Bitcoin being just a store of value, digital gold, to having gold on Bitcoin, for example, RWAs, for example, and NFTs on Bitcoin, ordinals, tokens, BRC20s, runes, and now all these other type of token standards that are emerging thanks to different meta protocols. So, yeah, that's pretty exciting time to be in Bitcoin, and we have none other than Bruff here with us, who's also been powering pretty much the ordinal space since day one. So, how's it going?
Been around a long time, yeah. I mean, it was the shortest special guest we ever had in our life, but he just DM'd. He's coming back. That's good. But no, it's been really, really fun over the last 2 years for sure. I think a lot has changed. I think that's why I'm excited to talk to Domo today, because launching BRC20 as he did as a complete experiment basically just shows you the power of like messing around on Bitcoin and seeing what like sticks. And BRC20 definitely caught people's imagination, right? And it took it to hyperdrive. Basically, the fees went through the roof and everyone went crazy for these tokens on Bitcoin. So I'm really looking forward to dive in with Domo, just like have a little bit of a history lesson, go back over the last 2 years, look to the future, talk about tokenization on Bitcoin in general, and just see what his views are on other things that's been kind of hot on our minds the last few weeks, and because he's a very knowledgeable fellow and he's back now. Hey Domo, how's it going?
Hey, sorry, I'm on my parents' internet. It's not the greatest.
No worries, man. No worries. No, we're just saying, really happy to have you on here. I think that a lot's happened in the last 2 years, right? In terms of just people building on Bitcoin. And what I was saying to Kamski just before you joined was what I really love about what you did was it was pure experimentation. Just putting something out there and see what resonates. And obviously, BRC20 really resonated with quite a lot of people, and kicked off mapping and kicked off tokenization on Bitcoin in a really big way. So I'm excited to dive into it with you today, just a bit of history lesson and go through it all, see where we are and where you think the future is, in terms of tokenization. But before we get started, man, how's it going in general? I've not spoke to you in a while, not seen you in a while. How's things?
Yeah, it's great. I think I kind of overdid it on the conference circuit last year, so I moved this year and taking like a bit of a breather in that regard. But yeah, everything's good. Where I live, summer's been a bit rainy so far, but finally getting some sun the last little bit. So yeah, no complaints on my side. I would be in Hong Kong if it were I've like a family commitment, but I think it was one of my favorite conferences last year. So hopefully next year.
Yeah, Hong Kong was really, really good last year. Again, I think speaking of BSC20, like I think that whole Eastern market really jumped on board and took it to the next level for sure. And I agree. Myself and Kamsky as well with moods like I think we've been non-stop since 2023, Kamsky, in terms of all these conferences and everything. It's like it's kind of crazy, right? Like and you see the same
all
people
over
over
the
and over.
world.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to take a little break. We are skipping Hong Kong as well from the trio side, just to get heads down a little bit. Maybe we're going to do Singapore, but it does take me back, Domo, to like 2023. When all this kicked off, and we first met each other IRL, right? And basically, you come up to the Ordnals Bot booth and just say, "Hello, I'm Domo," and then the rest is history. We chatted quite a bit since then, and talked about Bitcoin landscape and stuff. But I guess let's take us back for people who don't know, right? Like, why did you start BSC20? Like, you probably answered this 100 times, but it's good for this audience who might not know the history of this, right? Like, our audience might be looking at might have come into this space just on the rune side and don't really know the history of BSC20, which was the first token protocol on Bitcoin. So, if you don't mind, man, just take us back a little bit and what made you just throw that experiment online.
For sure. And just let me know if my voice or internet cracks out. I can find another solution. But yeah, it was so 2.5 years ago, basically this point, I was leading an on-chain analytics team at a payments company in the US. And I was mainly focusing on Ethereum, Solana, stablecoin, and like digital commerce data, and trying to build my brand within the crypto analytics space, like posting dashboards. I did one on like Reddit NFTs. I did one on all sorts of just different little things that were interesting in the depths of the bear market. And then I found ordinals fairly early on. I want to say like the first couple days of February. So did what everyone else did, like set up a node, start playing around. And then in doing so, I realized that like whilst the instructional information of how this is how you run a node, this is how you understand the protocol, there really wasn't anyone doing any analytics on Bitcoin in terms of like this new phase of Bitcoin, this new experimentation in Bitcoin. So I was like, hey, like, well, there's an opportunity here. Let's start playing around. It'll help me to learn Bitcoin data more than I had done before, because I just wasn't doing anything in that arena, because it was, like I said, the stablecoins and NFTs that I was focusing on at this job. And just coming back and learning something, I was like learning. So it was mainly just an exercise there, and then dual purpose to build my brand. So I started with like an Ordinals marketplace tracker, which was showing like, okay, well, these people trading on what was it at the time? It was like Ordinals
All those
market,
and yeah,
or
exactly.
what was Jack's one again? The pink one, like there was like a couple early
Yeah.
ones, and then the open source one. So really experimental, but it really seemed to be like a product in demand. People wanted to understand what was going on in space, what kind of inscriptions were being inscribed, what kind of volume was being done on PSBT secondaries. And then in doing so, I achieved exactly that. I kind of understood, okay, well, kind of get Bitcoin data now. It's a bit annoying to work with compared to Ethereum, but like, what else can I start playing around with? And actually, the first thing that I built after that, and was a big inspiration for BRC20 itself, was the stats names, which was like the first JSON meta protocol. Namespace, you think ENS, soul names, etc. So built that, got and that was kind of breakthrough in understanding how to parse the JSON, via the inscription envelopes. And then, shortly after that, I think I saw a tweet by Redphone Crypto kind of reaffirming what I'd been thinking about for a while. Kind of, it was the catalyst that pushed me to go ahead and do it. It was like, well, this is the first time ever we've done NFTs before tokens. Surely they're possible, even if it's in the most janky way possible. And then I delivered the most janky way possible to get tokens on Bitcoin with BRC. So yeah, it was like I spent, like, I told my fiance or my girlfriend at the time, like, I've got a really good idea. Spent 2 days in my room bashing it out, and then released it like at 11 p.m. my time on a Wednesday, and then woke up in chaos. Yeah, I'll pause.
Absolute chaos. I mean, it's so cool you say that. But what you were talking about there with the analytics side was the junior analytics page, right? Because I think that honestly, everybody in those early days used your page. Actually, like that was the one go-to where people would just track and see what activity has been on ordinals like for a long time. Maybe even still to this day, like people reference that junior analytics page. So that was very cool to do that, and I really like your process of actually like doing that to understand everything else. That's a really cool thought process there. And yeah, the BRC20, man, when it launched, I think the first thing you wrote at the top of the docs was, do not do this. This is complete bullshit. Like, I can't remember the exact words I'm paraphrasing, but like, basically, just don't waste your time on this. It's a complete experiment. And that's just degen fuel, basically, right? Like, everyone just said, okay, YOLO, when they started registering these things. But the Sats names was an interesting one. We, with Ordinalsbot, jumped quite early to that. So we managed to capture quite a big bit of that inscriptions market. When Sats names came out, we built a kind of rudimentary kind of indexer search tool that showed you if the Sats name was available or not and stuff, and that was quite cool. So we managed to capture quite a lot of those things. If we could take a little tangent down that road, actually, I'd love to get both your guys' thoughts on it. Like, because I was thinking about this recently about how I prefer .btc names to .sats names. I think .btc name is the one, professor.btc is the one I want, just like .eth, right, rather than .sats. Why has that not worked? Why has it not been an official like .btc naming system on Bitcoin right now? Like, there's 2 million registered .btc names, and nobody can do jack shit with them. Basically, you can't put it in your Xverse. I can't send you Domo.btc. What's the deal, guys? Why is it not working?
I can have an opinion, maybe. Like, I think, I'm less familiar with .btc, but .sats is where I like start researching and whatever. So I think a couple things, like one with the .sats was, you own it perpetually, and then you have all the squatter issues associated with that, versus ENS, which is like a subscription, whether you hate it or not. It's a way to prevent squatters. The other is, like, if I recall, like when .sats came out, and I'm not sure if .btc has this, like the first couple of weeks I had the momentum. It didn't really have a way to, I forget what they call it with ENS, but bind it to your address. Because you know how anyone can inscribe anything to anyone, you can have multiple names, but I don't recall if they had like a way that you could detect if this person has actively bound it. And then the third is you really just need mempool.space to adopt it. As soon as they do it, everyone else does in the entire space overnight, right? So I think those are my opinion.
I think adoption is key as well, like likes of Xverse. I think .sats was the one definitely that popped up on ordinals, as you said. .btc followed shortly after it, but there's some confusion in the market there, because actually Stacks, if you guys know about Stacks, has the BNS, the Bitcoin naming service, for years and years now, which was the BTC naming. You could, namespace was there. So anyone in Stacks already had their .btc name on the Stacks level, and Xverse and Ledger, I think, because they came from Stacks, they do support it. So when I look at my Xverse, I do see Profstar.btc, but that's from the Stacks days. But like, we all want it on Bitcoin L1. So I can imagine if we get the likes of the wallet supporting it, like you said, mempool.space, get that adoption going. I think I'd love to see it, because it is a pretty cool thing. In terms of applying it to your address, I had this idea maybe where we could like index it as like you just send it to yourself, so you send it from one address to the same address again, and then like we can pick up on that okay, the latest one, and then that happened, that's you just assign the name to yourself. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about it. We're definitely digressing away from BRC20, but like, I think I'm really into it.
I have a totally different opinion. I got like really burnt on like ENSs in the last cycle, so I have like PTSD. Not PTSD, but I'm disillusioned about the whole domain game kind of over it.
Was that someone that's stealing your name or something first before you could register it, like that?
No, more like spending, wasting ETH on ETH.
Right.
That like I thought I was gonna flip because it was hot, but yeah, no one cares about it anymore.
Yeah, I did. I remember registering quite a few .eth names back in the day as well to flip them, and then never flipped them, and now they're worth dog shit basically. Like, yeah, I can imagine, but yeah,
Like
but yeah,
over
the
the whole
stats.
domain, but it is useful. I just I don't know. I do like having some kind of level of like anonymity within my wallets. I know like some are kind of like
True.
public. It's same thing. Like Phantom is also pushing users to put a username to their wallet. It's this whole like de-anonymization of the web kind of trend that all these companies are doing. Ultimately, like they're promising you some kind of like monetary and financial incentive to actually dox yourself or even like connect your email and your Twitter and so on. So personally, I don't like that. I really don't like that. Of course, it doesn't mean that I am going to put my name if I'm taking an address, but it still feels like if you're going to do that, I don't know. There's part of me that just is a little bit resistant, but just my own personal thing. And definitely, I mean, very biased because of my experience on ENS. Where I just wasted a lot of money on it. But anyways, Domo, I have a question for you. So we obviously like fast forward now, like BRC20s have evolved. We've had a massive run, and I mean, we should definitely go back to like talk about Orky and stuff because rough, you guys were like you deployed like one of the most like legendary.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, how are you involved with BRC 2.0 if you are at all? Is it something that you're overseeing, or is it just a best in slot team? Have you, is it something that you even like thought would be happening? I don't know if you can hear us. I see your PFP has.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can. Did you hear the question, or would you like me to repeat?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, I can't hear you guys. Can you?
We can hear you.
But you can hear me, right? Not if you can hear me.
Yes.
We're not talking much, but I guess like.
Just give me 2 secs.
No worries. That's so loud in my ear. Like,
It's so loud.
to be honest, you say you're in Bali right now. You could just like open the window and hear the same thing, no? Like,
yeah, exactly. And they get all the mosquitoes like coming.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. I've never been to Bali before, but
Oh, it's great. It's
yeah,
so nice. Like
nice and relaxing.
yeah, it's definitely relaxing. It's a nice change from Dubai, I would say. Like it's very green. I mean, you can't see it now, but like, I go outside of my place and I have like rice fields. It's compared to like the desert that I'm usually surrounded. It feels good to be in green and see more people. There's definitely like more people here than Dubai, and just walk and surf. Yeah, pretty good, much needed. And then but same thing, where we decided to not go to Hong Kong, although big FOMO, and to just
Major FOMO.
needed rest. Honestly, like feeling a bit tired.
Yeah, it's been crazy for us. This year's been absolutely nuts. But Hong Kong is, especially after last year, it being so good. It is definitely FOMO for me. Like I'm looking at all the Pizza Ninja chats and everything. It's just like, oh man.
I know they're doing a live stream now. I can see it.
Yeah. You back, Domo?
Yes, I think should be good. See him.
Oh, technical issues in Domo land. I think Shin's in the audience saying bruff.trio. That would be a cool namespace, actually. Trio namespace.
Bruff.trio. Are you guys gonna do
why not? Yeah. If people want it. That's the cool thing about the stacks thing. Like I said, the stacks versions were quite advanced. Like they did have namespaces. And you could register your own namespace. Similar to how you can do like a .com or .co, and then you can do the .trio name, and people could just go off and register those.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about Trio actually, because I know that we touched upon gold earlier. I know there's like a thread that has gone out explaining, and I think it's a really interesting product that you guys have brought to market, because Bitcoin has historically always been compared to as called digital gold, and now you get to actually buy the real thing. We're using
Yeah,
Bitcoin on Trio, so I think it would be cool to share.
yeah, we can also share it as well. Yeah,
Yeah, and maybe like we can screen share. Before you do, can you screen share or I'll do it. Or I'll give you the reins for the screen sharing. Maybe we can go over the thread.
okay, perfect. Let's do that. 2 seconds, then let me set up. Right, so share my screen quickly.
Adam's back.
Hey guys,
Domo, we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you.
sorry
We're just
guys,
got a
this internet is beyond scuffed. Sorry.
All
I've
good.
no
used
stress,
my
no
laptop.
stress.
No
We're
worries.
just
We're
we're just
talking
doing
about
the
gold.
Trio interlude.
We're talking about digital gold and gold. Trio basically, well, Broth and the team have with Swarms, they have put real gold bars on chain, and there's a whole new section on Trio where you can actually buy these gold bars, which are redeemable now through KYC.
Exactly, yeah. So basically, Swarm, who are our partner on this, we met them, I think it was actually last year in Hong Kong, and they've already started like tokenizing and figuring out the legalities of tokenizing RWAs, starting with gold, and they've partnered with Brinks out of London to do this. So they've been tokenizing it right now on Ethereum, and obviously on a yacht in Hong Kong somewhere over a cocktail. I said to them, that should be on Bitcoin because Bitcoin's digital gold, and that opened up the whole conversation about, okay, well, you can tokenize things now on Bitcoin, right? We've got ordinals. How do we take an ordinal and hook it into your system where we can connect it to the gold bar? And it turns out it's just as easy as that, actually just embedding the serial number of the actual gold bar into the metadata of the ordinal. And that's legally enough to make it a tokenized asset. And then there's obviously a redemption process that you go through with Swarm. But fundamentally right now, by owning these inscriptions, which you can see if you go to trio.xyz/gold, you'll see the new gold page, shows you the gold price. And then you can see we've already inscribed 6 of these assets basically already. And they're 1 ounce gold bars, which are currently around $3,300 for one. And the cool thing is when you look at the metadata that we've inscribed on these things, you can see the serial numbers baked in. So that's all basically all we need to link to the real world asset is the actual serial number. And this serial number corresponds to a literal 1 ounce gold bar in London somewhere in the Brinks vault, which is pretty cool. And I wanted to do something special, so we got a really cool 3D file made. The bones of this 3D file was actually created by Leo Caillard, who's the Runestone creator. And then I handed it off to a good friend of mine who basically made it into this really shiny, amazing looking gold bar, which is I'm pretty impressed with it. I think it's a pretty sweet inscription. And the cool thing is it's all delegate inscriptions, right? So each gold bar is a delegate. And obviously it's parent-child. So every gold bar that we inscribe will be under this parent. So you can tell it's legit. And I even created this gold it's the beginning of a gold protocol, basically, where we can just like outline the standard there. Where if you want to create a token, let's all agree that this should be the standard and stuff, and we can all as one figure out how to put these gold assets on Bitcoin. And this is just a first attempt at us doing that, basically. And yeah, what you can do on Trio is basically you can either buy one already on secondary if someone wants to sell theirs, they'll list it here as any other ordinal on the marketplace. Or if it's not available, or the pricing's all not what you want to pay, basically you can mint a new one for the current price of gold, or you can mint 50 of them if you want to be absolutely crazy. And then what we'll do is then we will go through the process and tokenize it, link it up to the gold bar, get with the serial number, and then that's it. You've got that in your wallet, and you can send it to anybody. You can then resell it. It's only when you or that person, whoever owns the thing at the time, wants to then redeem it. There's the redemption process where you basically right now we're still working out the ins and outs of that, but basically the way I'm looking at it is you burn the inscription with this metadata, and then we'll be able to use this metadata to go to Swarm and Brinks, plug into their protocol where they can actually do the actual redemption part. So the cool thing is, what I'm trying to do when I've got some time is I want to basically do like a vlog where I like literally buy it on Trio, I video myself go to the airport, I burn the inscription on the plane, I land in London, I go and get my gold bar, and boom, like to show people it like legit works. So I'm quite excited about that. And that's it. This is the beginnings, as to say, of gold on Bitcoin. It's early days right now. This is kind of like V1. But I can see this growing into like, if we've got loads of these assets on the market, maybe we can build gold to Bitcoin pools in a DEX, which we're building as well, by the way. So yeah, a lot of cool potential for that. And there's other companies out there like Matador, who we partnered with back then, who are also basically in the gold business, that might also want to adopt this standard. And then we can have multiple suppliers of gold basically listing their gold as well. So it's quite an exciting thing, and it's just the beginning of basically RWAs on Bitcoin. So that's it.
Awesome.
That's my spiel.
I mean, it's pretty crazy everything that's been happening on Bitcoin. Like thinking a couple of years back, Bitcoin was literally just a store of value, and then suddenly there's a whole ecosystem. There's people deciding to build companies on top of Bitcoin. There's been different niches spawn off. Beautiful. We've had art, we have tokens, we have all these like new meta protocols that are launching. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I was the question that I was wondering before you dropped off, Domo. Like, are you actually involved in the BRC 2.0 upgrade, or is it something that's completely oversaw by the Best in Slot team?
Yeah, so I think a year ago today, or like a year and a bit ago, kind of enacted this like maintainer model. It's a bit odd having a dual maintainership model with Unisat and Best in Slot, and kind of my role since then as I've been doing what I can to support them, from a coordination or like if they need a connection or something like that. That's really been the prior role. But I like the entire development and marketing has been handled by Best in Slot, and then simultaneously Unisat has been working amazingly in the background, and they're coming out with this single step transfer, which is more impactful than initially meets the eye. So yeah, like all credit goes to Best in Slot. I have to say throughout this, we've been talking about the idea for a long time, tinkering on it, but as for development, testing, and marketing, like they've really led the charge, and I'm excited to see what they ship next week. So full credit to them.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think, I definitely want to roll the clock back, because we did skip a very important point, which is Orday token, right? Which was the first ever BRC20 token. And I love telling this, Domo, honestly. I tell every panel that I'm on, every space that I'm on, I always tell this story, which is basically one day I decided to just put the Orday deploy inscription into our database, and an order popped up. Meaning that obviously you used Ordinal's bot to launch Orday, and I DM'd you. I said, did you use Ordinal's bot to launch Orday? I think you said it was like one of your first ever inscriptions or something that you did. So that's my claim to fame, that you're the creator, but without us you could never have launched it yourself. No, so I'm joking, but there's still truth to that, right? You weren't just gaslighting me. It's true, right?
No, I wasn't. I mean, it goes deeper than that. I think you guys onboarded me to Lightning because in my degen phase, I wanted to inscribe more Bitcoin punks, and I could do it faster with Lightning invoices when you guys launched that service.
Nice.
So I've been playing around on the platform for a while. I think I did a lot of the Sats name stuff on there too. And then it was just like at the time, like, and probably still is like the most user-friendly before I like gone through this learning process of my node and the Bitcoin data. So yeah, 100% true.
Absolutely. And then cut to, I don't know, a year later or so, we launched the Trio token, right, which was a BRC20 token. And we, a lot of history on that. I don't know if you're aware of this, though. I told you at the time, but we actually minted that in a block. Did you know this? I don't know if I told you, but basically, Yeah, so so the Trio ticker was already deployed by someone basically a year previous, back in 2023, and it was basically a 21 million supply that we wanted, but there was 0 minted. But I really wanted that ticker, so I said to the team, okay, I want this ticker, but if we start fair minting this token, everyone's got to jump in and steal it. So I said to them, if we want it, we have to mint it all in one block. We have to create all the mint inscriptions and do them all at once. So we did that. We used Slipstream with Mara, the first ever Slipstream block we used. We actually stuffed it full of 2,000, whatever it is, 100 mint inscriptions for the Trio ticker. So if you go to the Explorer and look at the Trio token, the BRC20 Trio token, and look at the mint inscriptions, they all happen in the same second, which I think has never been done before or since, because it's kind of crazy. But I really wanted that ticker, so we did it in a block, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think people talk about Bitcoin lasting forever, and it's like this archive, things like that. I think people will look at in the future and be like, oh, this is interesting. So yeah, super cool. And then I think there's a couple of teams working on this right now. Like there's Mara Slipstream, there's Rebar with their product, but I think this is going to be increasingly something we see moving forwards. I think there is some Bitcoin developers who see it as Mevel, but I think Mev on Bitcoin's coming, and the question is like this Knots debate is like, okay, if you can't stop it, what can you do to do it like in a positive sum way, right? So I think that's probably where the discussion should move to, rather than trying to prevent it entirely.
Definitely. I mean, I think most big changes in Bitcoin always get hit with a lot of a knee-jerk reaction of let's stop this from happening, and you can't stop, a movement. You can't stop things, when there's a crowd of people who want to do something. So we'll see how it all expands. I think the Slipstream product's been really great. I think we did like 15 or so of the 20 top blocks we did through Mara for them last year. And now we're about to do all the Pizza Ninjas. Pizza Ninjas are doing... Trevor's just a crazy guy, man. He's like basically said to people, we're going to extend Pizza Ninjas, and who wants a 4 mega basically. So now there's like 32 or more than that now, 4 megas coming all at once basically from Pizza Ninjas, which is pretty insane. And they're doing something pretty cool, just to say that the Pizza Ninja itself is a tiny inscription, but whoever buys a 4 mega, we're allowing them to basically stuff whatever they want in there as their own thing. Family photos, a video, a game, like whatever they want. We'll work with them to stuff it in to use the whole 4 megabytes up. So that's pretty fun. And then like you say, I think there's so many other use cases we can't even think of, because you don't need to use the whole 4 megabytes. It's just useful to go over the 400 kilobyte barrier, right? You could use it to do the things like that. So I'm excited about it. Kamsky, any 4 megas? Are you bullish on 4 megas?
But actually I wanted to ask something, because Domo, you mentioned Bitcoin punks. Your PFP is a punk, right? It's a crypto punk.
Yeah, but it's a Ethereum CryptoPunk. I don't know if that's sacrilege on the face, but that's my
not at all. That's the OG.
I was gonna ask, why are you rocking? I mean, obviously, like, just honest question, like, why you're rocking like a ETH PFP? How does it feel? Like, how like ordinals and Bitcoiners are very, what's the word? They tend to like be very I can't find the word. Anyway, they tend to judge a lot of people that are not 100% Bitcoiners and so on. So I was just wondering, it's an interesting choice of PFP being like an icon of Ethereum. How come you kept an ETH PFP on?
Yeah, a couple reasons. I think it's where I came from. Like I was previously got my start on chain in the Ethereum ecosystem, particularly NFTs. I think there's really no second best in the NFT space at the moment. That's my personal opinion. Bitcoin has many chances in the future going forward, but I still think they take the cake at the moment. And then the last maybe interesting thing is when we deal with these meta protocols on Bitcoin, right? Like it's all about social consensus. You think about ordinals, the image is on chain, but it's a social consensus that the image is related to that SAT using the ordinals meta protocol and numbering system, right? Like that's social consensus. Punks kind of are similar in that regard in a multitude of ways. You know, in Ethereum NFTs, you have the opposite issue, right? You have the token, but then there's like a social consensus that the image is linked to it, right? Is the inverse. And then even more, and this kind of debate is heating up right now, is that I have a CryptoPunks V2 because there was a bug in the contract for V1s, right? And then what they did with the marketplace is that they just, instead of having to burn your V1, they just airdropped everyone, or you claimed your V2. And there's like a social consensus element there of like, what is the true CryptoPunk? Is it the original on-chain ones, or is it the ones that social consensus is built up and the market has developed over years? So I don't know. I'm just interested in social consensus in markets, and you know, I think this embodies that.
I think if there's any PFP to rock with the ordinal spirit, it is the CryptoPunk one. They're on chain as well, but like also they were super early, right? You're talking 2017. That was pre the bull run in 2021. So that's why I was like kind of really bullish on ordinals when I thought about it. It's like, okay, shit, there's a lot of traits here that punks have, right? Like it's really, really, really early. We can get in early, and it's all on chain. And I'm kind of surprised that value didn't really transfer over to ordinals in terms of just people realizing the power of things being on chain like punks are. You know, maybe it takes a few years, right? Maybe it's going to take a good 5-6 years for people to look back at these so-called artifacts on Bitcoin, you know, and digging them up. But who knows? I think that, you know, I can't talk actually because I'm actually also rocking an Ethereum PFP, which is my Satoshable.
Yeah, you're Satoshable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the values are a little bit different. Mine's worth about $20 right now, and the Domo's is worth I don't know how much, but it's still, like Domo says, that's my background as well. I started on ETH, right, and then went full on in Bitcoin. But yeah, it's interesting. I think CryptoPunks are definitely captured imagination. The Bitcoin punk side of things, when we launched it Ordinal Spot right when that happened, when everyone was minting in Discord, and people were saying, "I'll inscribe this for you, bro. Trust me. Give me $1,000. Trust me, bro. I'll inscribe it." And then we launched a product that people just dragged and dropped. But what we didn't expect was 6,000 degens to just melt our server in 10 minutes, and then because it was all first mint, basically, it was a complete shit show because the server went down. Everyone's still minting. No one knows what's happened. No one knows where the stuff is. So we spent weeks and weeks like going through every single Discord ticket, man, trying to make everyone whole again. It was a nightmare. That was the beginning of the madness, basically, you know, and it kicked off Ordinal, I think, like 80% or 40%. I don't even know how many percentage of all the Bitcoin punks came through our system. No, the number is in the early days, 40% of all inscriptions came through Ordinal's bot. And I think we did close to 80% of all the Bitcoin punks, basically, which is mad.
But yeah, oh, sorry, go for it.
I think when you you ask why like the prices, I think, you know, punks were as close to immaculate conception as you can really get. Like they took a couple days to mint out. It was an unproven idea, etc. I think when you look at Bitcoin, like I think there's certain artifacts that will accrue a value over time, but I think time's the key question there. But I think, you know, when I look at things that are interesting on Bitcoin, it's the immaculate conception things. And whilst, you know, Bitcoin punks are, you know, a derivative of the original punks, the first element that the team brought, I think it was novel and was kind of fits the bill there. Like whilst it's the derivative, it was interesting, and certainly that's something that I took inspiration from, and Sats Names took inspiration from as a way for distribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And on you go,
I was gonna say, like, there's definitely, you know, a long way to go for Bitcoin. We definitely haven't achieved, let's say, like the numbers yet that, you know, people were hoping to see, especially if you compare it to like other ecosystems like the EVM eco. And I know, Domo, you're investing and you're supporting a lot of, you know, startups that are building a lot of new meta protocols and so on. And, you know, there is definitely a lot of, you know, a lot of the times we're talking about Bitcoin not having a foundation. And so, you know, the replacement of the support that usually come with having such a structure and such an entity is definitely, you know, like projects, is founders, investors, angel investors, you know, VCs, people that actually provide guidance and funds and support to the ecosystem to make it grow and nurture it. I was wondering, like, what kind of, if you had an advice for founders or even first-time founders that are looking to build on Bitcoin, aka allocating their time, resources, basically their life to, building a product or an application like on Bitcoin, like what would be your, a piece of advice to you that you would give to support them or help them, or even invite people to actually come and explore this ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, this term one-shotted is popular right now. I think a lot of people get one-shotted by the narrative that's immediate, when they forget that like Bitcoin is this perpetual machine, as we hope, right? And there's going to be a long-term history in DeFi collectibles, RWAs, you name it, stable coins. I think, people are often not looking at the bigger picture, just looking at what's immediately in front of them right now, what's popular, like what the Solana trenches are doing, when often those narratives are fleeting and come and go in a matter of months. So I think long-term thinking is something that would benefit a lot of people.
It's tough though, because we're seeing, and we've seen this with runes, for example. There was a lot of hype around runes. A lot of founders decided to maybe pivot or decided to build on top of runes, and they ended up not necessarily like seeing, for example, like the traction or even the actual like number of users that were on this, basically using this protocol, which kind of makes it hard in terms of like having a long-term vision, because you're also betting on a very fresh and new, like the foundation are quite unstable, which can be said to be the same for every or L2 or whatever like new tech that's coming up in the crypto space. But I do see often like founders like really struggle with this long-term kind of like aspect, just because they are building in a very precarious and volatile sort of environment. What kind of companies would you like to see more actually come on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think, and this is certainly something I'm guilty of, so it might be a bit, what's the word, contradictory, but I think, like a lot of people are focusing on like incredibly clunky solutions that like work for the time being, but like once the hype cycle kind of subsides, people are like, oh, okay, well, this is slower, more difficult to use, and just generally a worse experience. Like longer term things that like, okay, well, if you look at the ecosystem at large, including Bitcoin's brand can only go so far. How can we improve it to meet the standards of new entrants, people that are not super comfortable with waiting 10 minutes, paying $20 for a transaction? And then, that's on like the new entrant side, or on the the ancient whale Bitcoin side, like what trust assumptions need to be dialed to do that, right? So I think if you think about the trust assumptions side of things, I think people like Babylon have done a great job, right? If you look at TVL and the ecosystem, they've dominated like the vast majority of other protocols, because they kind of nailed that initial like trust assumptions versus upside. I think things like these BitVM vaults will come in the future. I think those are interesting. I think that will kind of potentially lead, especially on the vault side. I think that's something that people aren't talking a lot about, especially in ordinals right now, which could lead to potential like a significant DeFi yield summer. I think that's interesting. And then back to the kind of fast, furious degen side, I think, looking at sequencer applications, I know, or other integrations with faster networks. I know the Spark ecosystem is leaning on Lightning. I think with BRC-20 2.0, we're looking at things like sequencer and roll-ups, which are possible with the tech that's coming. So I think that focus is coming. But like, I think, space has been guilty at kind of like putting a Rolls-Royce engine in a Honda Civic, when instead of building like just a fast car from scratch, if that makes sense.
Right.
It sounds like something we would do in Scotland, basically. Put a crazy engine in a really cheap car. But I think I wonder what you guys think about this, right? Like, where would we be right now? This is a really kind of loaded question a little bit, but like, would we be having this call right now if Ordinals didn't launch when it launched, or would take Ordinals and Casey out of the equation? Would Bitcoin have had that same like adoption curve as it's had over the last 2 years, in your guys' opinion, or no? Because I personally think that it was a catalyst. I think it really did spark people's imagination for flowing back in, and it might have. I'm worried that if that didn't happen, it would have just been the same old arguments over and over again, still to this day. And yes, there'd have been some L2s there, but nowhere near as much activity as has happened, right? What do you guys think?
I mean, Stack was around before Ordinals ever launched.
And no traction, and hardly any traction. We were there, we built on it, and it was rough.
You guys, like most of
Yeah.
Ordinals people come from Stacks, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something that people have been dreaming of. I feel like a lot of, at least from my side, not being a technical person, like whenever I hear about devs or devs coming to Bitcoin, there's a sense of excitement of actually building, on something that's like more difficult, and it's definitely for people that like to have that challenge and want to go the hard way and feel like proud to achieve things. Like every small achievements feels like way bigger than if you were building on some other EVM L2 or whatever. But I don't know, from the technical point of view, I've just been a Bitcoin hodler for a long time, but I would have never imagined that we would be having JPEGs on top. Although Counterparty is
Counterparty was, but it's kind of like a, what would you class Counterparty as? Though more like a layer 1.5 or something, or like
ish.
it's got its own token, I guess.
So
But,
they started.
To answer the question from my side, I think almost certainly not. I agree with you, Bruff. I think the two major contributions of the Ordinals protocol was one, there wasn't very many interesting things you could do with Bitcoin at the time. So people weren't focusing on understanding how it worked, what things you could do and build that are equivalent in the rest of the ecosystem. And, the Ordinals protocol made people dive in, understand Bitcoin, like it certainly did it for me, and start building interesting things. I think the other thing was a cultural shift, right? Like if you look at pre-Ordinals and post-Ordinals, it's like BC AD almost, like in terms of the culture in Bitcoin. The culture in Bitcoin was like, red meat, no seed oil, like angry Bitcoiners on podcasts, right? And afterwards it brought a new kind of cohort into the space, and it's got to a point right now where like the old culture that haven't adjusted to the new normal, or like the angry men yelling at clouds, like we can see with the knots debate right now. And I think full credit has to go, or a lot of credit has to go to Ordinals there because of the amount of people it brought on and the change of culture that it's done.
Do you like
totally agree.
Culture?
Well, good question. Debatable. I think it's very toxic and tribalist. But my point being that it brought a new subset of Bitcoin that are more, or Bitcoiners that are more open-minded than the previous cohort on chain.
I think it started off well. Everyone was singing "Kumbaya" around the fire, and then dramas happened, and everyone loves a bit of drama. But I was thinking about, just from a tech perspective, when you look at Ethereum, right?
Sound bad.
Yeah, everyone's doing bad, and everyone gets in. That's true. And we've had some epic people, absolutely blowing up over the last 2 years, which is, we won't name names, but there's been some epic ones. But I was thinking, just from a tech perspective, when you look at Ethereum, for example, right, like, the early days of Ethereum was the wild, wild west. Like, there was no standards. It's really hard to imagine, if you look at Ethereum now, where it was back in the beginning days, right? It was basically, here you go, blank slate, do what you want, basically, and that's how it launched. Kind of similar to Ordinals, which is kind of similar to Bitcoin in that sense. It's just like, let's see what we can go out and do and throw it to the wall and see what sticks. And of course, Ethereum and EVM smart contracts were super advanced and great at the beginning, but without standards, without adoption, without the pain and the rug pulls and everything else, it would never have got to where it got to today. Without the scaling problems, L2s wouldn't have launched, etc. So we're going through the same thing now with Bitcoin. There was this like lull of just like nothing happening, basically, and then now we had like the wild, wild west free for all days, and then now standardization kind of came around. Meta protocols became a narrative, and now L2s, the scaling solution problem is starting to come to the forefront, and that's also an early experimentation phase. So I think that's happened maybe a little bit faster on Bitcoin than it did in Ethereum, but it's kind of the same pattern. Crazy degen early days. Okay, how does the thing actually work? Okay, how do we scale this? And then 1 out of 5 L2s will work, and then that one might become Solana, right, in terms of scale. So I'm interested. It's a really exciting time at this precipice here of just Bitcoin L2s, and thank God, right? Bitcoin needs a fee market, right, and all this activity is contributing to that fee market, whether it's via roll-ups or whatever else. It's got to be an amazing time. The next 10 years on Bitcoin has got to be absolutely wild, man.
Yeah, people are saying in the chat, Bitcoin was pretty boring before ordinals.
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
I think also like this might be a bold claim, but I think it may. You talk about meta protocols and layer 2s and all that and scaling solutions, but I think like if you even look at the base protocol, I don't know. With the op return extension debate happening last month, future discussions of opcat and CTV and things like that. I don't know if that would have even been a feasible discussion in the culture of the space 2-3 years ago, right? So it's shifted that kind of like Overton or wherever that word is window into like people can like have that discussion now, and I'm not sure we'd be there today if it weren't for these kind of advancements.
I think if you look at it the other way as well, there's definitely a risk that it can skew too much to the YOLO phase, right? And we don't want Bitcoin to change fundamentally, right? We love Bitcoin because it is the way it is, and it's really hard to change anything. I think the mechanics of it are perfect, right? In my opinion, in terms of it's the most secure. It's the block times. It's actually perfect. I think it's too perfect for any one human to design. By the way, I think it was definitely aliens that designed Bitcoin and just dropped it at the right time for their species to survive the coming apocalypse. But that's a whole different.
Is that your Bitcoin conspiracy?
That's a whole different podcast. Tune into Bruff's
Really?
tinfoil hat.
Using it? Are you saying?
Tinfoil hat.
Like the Fed. That's more of a. If we have.
No, honestly, you think governments are smart enough to do this, man? The governments are not smart enough to do this, man.
There's just like dark ops.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like the exact Fed, but you definitely need a lot of funding to come up with this kind of tech. So it wasn't necessarily like a passion project. Anyway.
I think what I'm saying is, though, I think that it's a slippery slope, Domo. I think when you start like introducing new things, and where does that end, and how rapidly could that change Bitcoin now to be a complete shit show? I don't know. It's a slippery slope. We need to try and always adapt to the market and evolve slightly, but never let it ruin what we've built. In terms of what Bitcoin is.
Domo, who do you think created Bitcoin? What's your conspiracy theory?
Yeah,
it was Domo, actually. It was actually Domo.
I feel like, I don't really have a strong opinion. B, I feel like the longer no one conclusively knows, the better for Bitcoin is kind of my perspective.
100%.
Fair point.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right.
Well, and just on that, like my Satoshi's PFP is kind of a funny little narrative on that. So my PFP is based on this guy called Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto he's a Japanese expat living in Florida, and basically everyone in 2014 said, "Oh, you're the guy," and he's like, "No, I'm not the guy," even though he's a computer scientist and he did do some stuff. He's not the guy apparently.
There's a lot of people that came through and claimed to be Satoshi along.
Oh yeah, of course you've got some. Anyone claiming to be is definitely not.
Just running around.
Yeah, anyone claiming to be Satoshi is definitely not Satoshi. But,
right.
Yeah.
We are. I just want to remind you, like it's been a really fun conversation. We're just coming close to the end of the stream, and but yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys like, what's your outlook on where are we going? How do you feel like the rest of the year is gonna look like? We have a lot of announcements, a lot of mainnets that are coming. There's a lot of launches. BRC 2.0 on September 2nd. It's there's a lot happening for Q3 and hopefully Q4, which is just historically pretty hot in terms of market action. So I was wondering, like, what's your outlook for the rest of the year before we close off?
I'll say something, Domo, and I'd love you to pick up on it because I'm not a charts guy, I'm not a data guy like you, but you've got these like 30 or so like peak bull run indicators, right? And I've been looking at them the other day after the Ethereum all-time high. I think they're all out of whack. I think they're all out of whack because when you look at the bull runs that's been happening, it's like going down, right? Like it was extreme volatility, and then it was down, and now it's down again. I think all of those indicators are all now out of whack, basically, because the market's completely shifted in terms of adoption. I'd love your quick take on that in terms of like, do you think all the old instruments are gone now and we're in a completely new phase of these, like how it's got to go in the future? Is the 4-year cycle dead now? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's been weird cycle for sure, in my opinion. I think, we've seen less trickle down, like these rotations from Bitcoin to Ethereum into the smaller caps. And I think that potentially is due to the vehicles that are holding a lot of this Bitcoin now. It's air gapped from on chain, which is unfortunate for like ordinals, for instance, because like people are buying the ETFs or they're buying these treasury DATs or they're, or the DATs are, hoovering up all this Bitcoin. I think we've seen less retail interest so far. Maybe that changes. I mean, price action has been decent over the summer compared to most summers, but like it seems like it's still the big boys. Maybe that's some seasonality, and the retail wave comes in later into the year. But I'm in terms of the 4-year cycle, I'm still in the camp of if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Like I'm willing to be proven wrong, like in terms of it going longer. But my current belief is that we're in the later innings, if that makes sense.
Right. We have a question in the chat from Shamana. What do you guys think of Sparks? I know we touched upon it earlier, but yeah, they asked. They were wondering.
Yeah, I've been looking into it. I think from our perspective as a builder company, like we're kind of agnostic what we build on, and we look at ICP, we look at Spark, we look at Arch, we look at Starkware, we look at BRC 2.0. Like there's a whole bunch of things. It's like take your pick. And honestly, if I had unlimited resources, I would just build on them all because why not? Like what they're all got to have different cool moments in time, in my opinion. The next kid on the block has got to be BRC 2.0. I think it's next week, maybe, Domo, I think. So, that, I'm going to look like an absolute genius for not migrating Trio to Runes. Let's just put it out there, right? Like I've been waiting for this BRC 20 bull run to come back, and then Trio's out there as a BRC 20. So I'm excited about that. And then with Spark, as I said, there's big players using it, right? Magic Eden, I think Luminex are doing some stuff with it. So there's a lot of players building on Spark. I think it's a fundamental different solution. It's a state chain, I believe you call it. I'm not really sure. And then Arch, I think, are a good contender. They're very well funded. They've got a lot of people already building and testing it. So we're looking at doing that. We know the guys really well at Arch. We're thinking about maybe integrating Arch assets into Trio if that becomes a thing. Yeah, I mean, it's just a super exciting time, basically, to just get your hands dirty in all these things. If you're a dev, come and learn them all, man. Start just messing around. Domo?
Yeah, I think Spark is interesting. Like I've been looking into their BKTN, I think is their standard. I mean, they have immense amounts of funding. It's like the Facebook blockchain guy, founder, of Lightspark and whatever. So it's like, you can't look at that and not see it as positive, for the space where, similar to Ethereum, a lot of the development started as toys and then became serious. I think we've got some very serious players coming into the space. I will say with that standard, it's not very expressive from what I can gather. You're quite limited with what you can do. And then the AMM applications on top of them have, like these trusted execution environments like Teas, or, like additional like routing infrastructure with nodes to do it. So it's there's workarounds, but it's not, the standard itself is not particularly expressive. But on the flip side, it's fast and cheap. So interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and for BRC 2.0, one thing I really love what you guys have done there is it's EVM compatible, right? I think my co-founder and CTO, he's already launched remix, Bitcoin remix. I don't know if you know this, Domo, but we did that. It's already live. So basically, people can paste in their EVM smart contract, the Solidity contracts, and deploy to BRC 2.0. That's coming soon, basically, which is pretty cool. And I'm just excited to see another BRC20 bull run because, as I said, there's a shit ton of people in the eastern side of the world who have a lot of BRC20 bags still and completely skipped the runes boom because they've spent all the money on BRC20 tokens, basically. So I'm looking forward to seeing some more native BRC20 AMMs and all that smart contract functionality that's coming with BRC 2.0. I can't wait for a single step transfer. That's got to be so awesome. And 6-character tickers, let's go. I don't know what Kamsky, there you go. Kamsky, you can get your Kamsky ticker. It's 6 characters. So I'm looking forward to that.
I should message the best in slot team. I forgot. They were saying that they were going to get me.
Yeah, I had bold aspirations of launching a product if people had pre-registered and didn't do it, no time. But the 5-character tickers was actually mad. I think I registered quite a bunch of those, but I managed to get quite a few of those. So that's interesting. So Domo, when BRC 3.0?
Oh God. I mean, I think the whole premise of BRC 2.0 is that you don't need to go ahead and do another update. It's about as expansive as you can possibly get with one singular update. And, all the small, like, quality of life, cosmetic features that like weren't possible in the previous one are now, possible to the expressive nature of the new VM. So, I mean, that's the hope there. I think the steps beyond there are just making it, a more robust and user-friendly chain that things like or product like the single step. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that 3.0 is neither required or wanted.
Never say never, man. People love a new version. Awesome.
Well, yeah, it's been fun, and definitely. I mean, I'm so excited. I feel like this summer, like everybody was waiting for a break, but it's indeed like been just full on. And now like September is coming, and we have all these launches coming and releases and mainnets and so on. So there's been like no time to rest. Hopefully, I get to see you guys in Singapore. And yeah, Domo, thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with us. Bruff, it's always a pleasure. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good morning. Yeah. Posted. Trio show. We up. Purple suede on the mic talking BTC. Kamsky talking trio fresh as can be. Rockstar delivering tech like a G. And I'm a hot boy, but I'm as cold as the sea. Turning up the degrees, giving all the keys. Grinding for the sats cause they don't grow on trees. Allergic to the fiat money like a sneeze. Running up this Bitcoin till I break my knees. Yeah. Trio show. Yeah. Posted. Starship. What up, though, Kamsky? What it do, Perk? What's poppin', bruh? Talk to him, baby. Yeah. In a whole nother league by myself. You couldn't touch Trio